Come on down. Come on in and find your seats. Good morning and welcome. You have found your way to Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. Good job. And welcome to all of you in the room, on Zoom, online, on YouTube with us this morning. We're delighted to have you here. This is a beautiful day, even though it's chilly here in Northern California. And so we are grateful for all of that and to be here together. This is a place, if you happen to be here for the first time, where we want you to know that whoever you are, wherever you may be on your pathway of life, you're welcome here. So this is a time that we take at the beginning of the service to say hi and greet one another. So I invite you, now that you're all seated and well-behaved, to get up and rabble-rouse. Go around, introduce yourselves, say hi to each other, welcome back anybody you haven't seen in a while. Take your time and do that. And those of you online, go ahead and give yourselves a big hug. If you want to pour another cup of coffee, do that. In just a moment, we're going to come back and do the opening song. All right, so now that we've had this greeting time, we're going to join our voices together in our opening song. And I want to introduce to you Lauren Mayer, our musician for this morning. She is a friend of Karen Drucker's. Lauren is an award-winning singer-songwriter, and she specializes in writing and performing topical comedy tunes, usually. Her most recent hit, the Sexual Harassment Prevention Song, has gone viral with more than 2.7 million hits on Facebook. Lauren began playing the piano at age 3 and discovered her love of comedy songs shortly thereafter. She's a Phi Beta Kappa graduate of Yale, a 5-time recipient of the San Francisco Cabaret Gold Award, as well as winning numerous honors and accolades for her original music, writing several musicals, recording 6 albums of comedy songs. And despite all these impressive accomplishments, Lauren's mother still doesn't understand why she didn't go to law school. So please stand as we sing Karen's Thank You for This Day with Lauren Mayer.
Yeah, please clap. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, let's do this one more time. Thank you for my friend, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Healing, this healing, this healing. Now let's go to friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Health, thank you for my health, Spirit, thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit, thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. Life, thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. Let's all clap. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. My wealth, thank you for my wealth, Spirit, thank you for my wealth. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit, thank you for my wealth. My opulent, my opulent, my opulent wealth, my opulent, my opulent, my opulent wealth. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Big finish. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day.
All right. You may be seated, and I want to invite you to go ahead and now silence your cell phones and prepare yourselves to go within to your center, because now that we've made all this hoopla, we are joined in voice, joined in consciousness, and now we're going to join within in consciousness. So I want to invite Reverend M. Louise up, who is going to do the morning prayer.
Well, I know that our presence here and all who are listening make this place a holy place, because that divine presence lives within each one of us. I know it is within me. I know it is within you. And right here and now we have that opportunity to remember who we truly are, those wonderful expressions of God. And as we remember that love, that caring, that good that is meant for all of us, I know that we are guided this day to open our hearts and minds to the wonderful message, to be aware of each blessed one who is here today, who has come to gather and be present in that knowing that we are all the beloved. And so I know that it is all good and is all God, and I give my thanks, and so it is.
I don't want to be anybody but me. I like who I am, what I have, and what I can do now. And there's no reason you feel the same way too now. We can all be glad to be ourselves. There are things I struggle with, but it's okay. In other ways I'm hard. So let's all celebrate what makes our lives great. We can all go far being grateful for where we are. 'Cause I don't want to be anybody but me. I like who I am, what I have, and what I can do now. And there's no reason, same way too now. We can all be glad to be ourselves. I am traveling my own path, and it's unique, not like any I've been on before. But I can't wait to see what's ahead, what amazing gifts will be in store. Oh, I don't want to be anybody but me. I like who I am, what I have, and what I can do now. And there's no reason you wait to now. We can all be glad to be ourselves. Oh, I don't want to be anybody but me. I like who I am, what I have, and what I can do now. And there's no reason you can't feel the same way. We can all be glad to be ourselves. Everyone can see I'm glad to be me. And I can see it's true, you're glad to be you. Everyone can see I'm glad to be me. And we see it's true, you're glad to be you. Woo.
All right. Thanks, Lauren. That was fun. And that fills right in with where we are in looking at the theme of the month, which is following the sacred spiral of spirit. As we look at the path of our lives, never just straight ahead, where we see what's coming and we go for it, and it's all nice and smooth and easy. First of all, that would be extremely boring. And second of all, it's just not what we're here for, you know? So we're on this path that meanders. I think of it as a spiral because it is like a labyrinth rather than a maze, in that that we're not abandoning anybody else by staying on our path. We have to be ourselves, as Lauren was singing, even though she had experienced some damage in her brain over the course of this surgery, where she had left her body for a while. It didn't make any difference. She was just as loving and present and responsive as you might imagine somebody who was living in the light might be. So sometimes we seem to be off track, and actually we're probably where we're supposed to be, but we might alarm other people because we don't quite seem to be where they think we ought to be. A little boy got lost at the YMCA and found himself in the ladies' locker room. And so when he was spotted, all these half-dressed women just burst into shrieks and grabbed towels and ran for cover, and he was completely surprised and amazed and looked around and said, "What's the matter? Haven't you ever seen a little boy before?" Sometimes we find ourselves in places where it might not seem like we belong, but if we're on our own path, then we have to keep coming back to that truth, that we're following it even if it's uncertain in the moment. So when we're looking at that path, usually it begins to bring us toward itself, something in us that we love to do or are really fascinated by or interested in, or something we're engaged in that we're learning how to do, that we're becoming more and more interested in. These things tend to be like Hansel and Gretel's breadcrumbs, only more durable, that lead us in a direction we can follow. So we begin to be connected to our own path. And there are often little tributaries that wander, and so it feels like we've gotten off the path. But here's the thing. If we're really on that sacred spiral of spirit, which we can't not be because there's nowhere else to go, when we're on that path, even if we meander, even if we do all the stuff I'm saying we don't want to do on recognizing our path, we're still going to end up on it because there's nowhere else for us to go. Eventually, in our evolution as a soul, we're going to come back to that which is ours. We can't avoid it because it's tailor-made for us and we are tailor-made for it. There is some speculation among those who have either had near-death experiences or who have been therapists that worked with people who did some kind of a regression, a hypnotic experience where they went to an apparently past life and described what it was like between lives and what it was like in former lives. And it seems like what the message is that before we land in our life, we get to decide. We get to, with some guidance, decide what this life needs to be for this soul to go and do and be what it needs to be, what its mission is going to be while we're inhabiting these spacesuits and doing this. There is a Celtic vow of friendship that says, "I honor your path. I bring an unprotected heart to our meeting place. I drink from your well. I hold no cherished outcome. I will not negotiate by withholding. I am not subject to disappointment." So when we are honoring the path of someone else, doesn't mean we necessarily understand it, but it means that we respect their right to make their choices, to have their freedom of choice. That doesn't mean we don't comment on it or advise them or express our concern or even intervene if we really feel like there might be harm. But at the same time, we want to honor their path. Kevin Smith says, sometimes the path you're on is not as important as the direction you're heading. So when it looks like we're in the middle of one of those diversions from our path, like we've wandered away, sometimes I think of that as a divine rewrite or a cosmic left turn, where the universe has to take us away from, it appears, the path we thought we were on in order to actually get to the next point on the path we need to get to. So we wander off over here, we pick up some of what we were lacking or needed to learn or were missing or didn't understand. Then when we find ourselves back on the path, there comes a point where we need that. We need that tool, that awareness, that ability to go forward from there. Then we can see it. When my husband and I divorced, back when our son was pretty little, sometimes people who were not of this path would say to me, well, why did your marriage fail? I'd say, I don't think it failed. We were two people who came together onto the same path for a period of time because we had need of each other to go forward on that path and do what we needed to do and learn what we needed to learn. And at a certain point, our paths diverged. Now, we're still connected to each other. We're still friends. We're still connected to our son and his path in life, but we needed to move on to different tributaries to go forward to do what we needed to do. So we served one another very well. In retrospect, it's easier to see what we learned from each other than it was right then, as you might imagine, those of you that have had this experience. But I consider that not a failure, actually, but something that needed to lead us forward. So one of the things about distinguishing and recognizing our own path is, well, what's mine to do? What's my path? What's your path? What's our path together? There may be times when they match up, and there may be times when they diverge again from one another. It doesn't mean we can't walk on our own path, kind of together in parallel, but not on the same path anymore. So I don't know that there are any two people who walk the same path their entire lives. Even those who are married 70 years, there have been times in their relationship where their paths wandered off this way or that way, although the main tributary stayed the same. Is this making sense, what I'm saying? But for the uniqueness of that soul, the particular path they're on is their own. So in order for us to have healthy boundaries with other folks, one thing that's important is that we do stay in our own lane. So what does that mean? Well, somebody very wise said, and I can't remember who it was at the moment, if I'm in your lane, nobody's managing mine. And there's somebody in your lane who doesn't really belong there for your own process. Sometimes we think we know better than the person what they ought to be doing, how they ought to be thinking, what they ought to choose next. Witness all the parents who decide where their kids are going to go to college or who they're going to marry, or even if they're going to go to college. I've told this story before, probably several times, but I remember a young man in Southern California that came to me for practitioner work when I was a minister down there. He was gay, but he was closeted because he felt that if he were to come out, his father would be so upset and disappointed, it would destroy their relationship completely. So rather than allow his father an opportunity to meet that differently, he took that away from him in order to seemingly protect them both. And it prevented him from expressing and living part of who he was. And it prevented his father from that particular opportunity for growth. And who knows, maybe his father knew but felt that he wasn't comfortable with it and so never said anything. And I don't know in the long run what happened, because eventually I moved away. But it was sad to me that that was the case for him. And he even related that his sister was engaged in a profession that she didn't care about and didn't want to do because their father wanted her to do that. Do you see how this works, where somebody gets into the other person's lane? Last night, we were watching one of the last couple episodes of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She's a stand-up comedian, and her father is someone who has very clear ideas about what everybody should be doing. And in the episode we were watching last night, he has this realization all of a sudden of how he has never recognized who she was, how he has always been in the way, and yet she's gone ahead and been who she needed to be. And he realizes how much he never saw her or supported her, and how much has he done that with his grandchildren or with other people. And he's sort of in shock with this realization. And that could happen for any of us. How many of you have children? Ah, yes. Well, we've for sure done this with our kids, justified or not, well-meaning or not, accurate or not, because sometimes when we get into their lane, it looks like they need that help, and maybe they do, but often it's hard for us to trust that they're going to be okay, that they're doing all right, and we want to be of assistance. Yeah? Does this make sense? Yeah? And sometimes we're just in the way. So in addition to staying in our own lane, it means not trying to save or control or do it for you. It's been said by psychologists that when we overfunction, then the person whose roles we have taken on begins to underfunction to balance that out. It's an automatic response. So before we take over doing something for somebody else, it would be good to just check in with them. That may not be a lane that we need to get into right then. Maybe we need to give them more time or space than we're comfortable with, but maybe that's then our job, not theirs. So we don't need to control them like this young man was trying to do really with his father by controlling his father's reactions in advance of giving him a chance to have them, or doing it for somebody because we're not sure they can do it, or trying to save them innumerable times. We know from 12-step programs that when somebody actually goes into recovery, it doesn't work unless they're doing it for themselves. If they're doing it because mom is pushing, or their partner or spouse is pushing, or their kids are pushing, and they feel like, oh, well, I'll do it for them, it'll make them happy, I'll get them off my back, it generally doesn't work. So when we're trying to rescue somebody, sometimes that's not the thing we need to do. And that's pretty hard for us, yes? If we think they're struggling. But perhaps the struggle is necessary. You know that it takes a chick in an egg something like the energy of 50% of its body weight to break out of an eggshell. And yet we know if we help them break out of the eggshell, they'll die. Because that struggle is what gives them the strength to survive. I can remember there's a ranch up in Sonoma County where the family had a lot of animals, and one of the horses birthed a foal, and the husband and wife were out there watching this newborn foal struggling to stand up. They have to stand up on their own. I mean, the mother can nudge them and stuff, but they basically have to stand up on their own within a certain amount of time. And the wife knew this, and she was watching patiently as this poor foal just struggled and struggled on these long, spindly legs to try and stand up. Meanwhile, her husband was like, I just want to, help a little bit. Can I just, put a foot there to stabilize? No, she said, you have to wait. You have to wait. And this poor little thing struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled and finally got onto its feet. This is us. You know, if somebody is picking you up every time you fall down when you're trying to learn to walk, it's kind of hard to do it. They sort of have to let you lose your balance enough times that you figure out what balance is. How many of you know how to ride a bike? Yeah, ever fall over when you're learning? Yeah, of course. Sometimes we fall over some even after we learn how. We have to do and try and fail in order to figure out what works. And so to be supporting the healthiness of each other, we have to kind of let people find their way. If they ask for help, help. If you have an idea, give it to them. If there's some tip or trick you know, you can speak it. But it's up to them to make those choices, yeah? So we want to receive that too in our own lives. We want to receive support, but not take over. I had a woman in my congregation in Santa Rosa many years ago who had no self-confidence, and she told me, growing up, her mother always did all her homework for her. Not that she wanted her mother to do that, mind you, but her grades, her mother felt they were such a reflection on her parenting that she did the homework for the daughter. So this girl grew up not having any idea if she had any ability to do anything whatsoever, so that her mother would be comfortable. You see what I'm saying? This is like an extreme example. But what we want is to receive the assistance we need, but not take over. And that's what we want to do for other people. Support them, give assistance if they need it, if they ask for it, but let them learn, let them do it. We have then a question that comes up: what is mine to do as opposed to what is yours to do? I look at all the things in the world that need our participation and help. Can I solve the climate crisis because I'm cutting down on plastic? Probably not by myself. Does my little bit make a difference? It may be negligible, but if in my doing it, I somehow inspire somebody else to do it, and they inspire somebody else to do it, then we have a contagion of goodness happening. Do I now know how to solve the problem of people who are unsheltered, people who have mental illness? Of course not. Do I know how to solve any of these problems with these countries that are in conflict with one another? No, I don't. Is there a way? Of course there is, because I don't think the infinite presence in its omniscience is stymied by those problems, right? And yet, like a really wise parent, there is not interference. There is allowing the time and the space and the natural consequences necessary for the human race to catch on. Will we get it? I don't know. But what is mine to do? Mine is not to solve the problems myself, right? If I take all that on, pretty soon I'll just pass out and you'll have to bury me. That's not a possibility. But I can do what I'm capable of, interested in, willing to do, yes? So I can contribute to causes that I think are valuable, but I can't contribute to all of them. I can take actions that are available to me to do, but I can't do every action. I can't send money to every candidate. They'd like me to. I get regular emails letting me know how much they'd like me to. But I can't contribute to every cause. It's just not a possibility. So I have to choose. Part of my responsibility in my life is to choose. Bless you. So I want to go back to that irresistible pull. What do I care about? What in me is sparked by something? You know, Reverend David Alt went to Cambodia, I think it was, at one point on some kind of a tour or a vacation or something like that, and came upon an experience of children who were poor or orphans. I don't remember how it started out, and they needed a school. And something happened to him. And he created this whole thing that evolved from this experience in terms of raising money for these kids to build a school, to train the teachers, to get the kids uniforms, to pay their tuition, whatever it was that was necessary. And he continues to do that. This is something that grabbed his heart. Do we all need to go to a foreign country and start a mission? No, of course not. That was David's to do, and some part of him saw it and knew it and felt it. It grabbed his heart. So, what do we love to do? What pulls at our hearts? What is important to us? What do we value highly? These things that pull on us, that we lean toward, those are where something is resting for us to do. It's not for us to do everything. And it may be that what we're called to is to be an artist in some form. Why? Why would we do that in a world with so many problems? Because art is nourishing and encouraging to the soul in one way. Another is that art wakes us up to what is happening and what the meaning is of what's happening by shining a different kind of light on it that might let some of us see it. Art has a way of moving us or touching us that nothing else might. So some are called to their passion as artists. It may not look like it's going to save the world, but we don't know that. So we move toward that irresistible pull. It isn't about trying to control somebody else's behavior. It's about putting more intent on our own path, our own interest, recognizing that as ours, than it has to do with focusing on theirs or the meaningfulness or goodness of theirs. So the pull is tailored to our particular mission or path or what we're here for. We don't necessarily see that now, but if we move in that direction, it begins to let us know that this is good. We can feel it. It has an impact on those around us, maybe in our immediate family, maybe in the world in general, we don't know. But it moves us forward in that way. The Buddha is supposed to have said, "It's your road and yours alone. Others may walk it with you, but no one can walk it for you. No matter what path you choose, really walk it." And Joseph Campbell said, "You enter the forest at the darkest point where there is no path. Where there is a way or path, it is someone else's path. You are not on your own path. If you follow someone else's way, you're not going to realize your potential. If you can see your path laid out in front of you step by step, then you know it's not your path. Your own path you make with every step you take. That's why it's your path." So we are in an uncharted territory. We are making a new path that's ours, that was always meant to be ours. That's why that unpathed space is available and ready for us. Richard Harvey wrote in Your Sacred Calling, Awakening the Soul to a Spiritual Life in the 21st Century. In the prologue, he said, "One thing you can be sure about, your own vision is the only one for you." So as we're moving forward then and following the steps of our path, we begin to see the beauty in it. We begin to feel the love in it that we have for it, even if other people don't understand it. Plenty of people are on paths out there that others don't understand. I remember when my mother, for some reason, said to me, when I was in the School of Ministry, and she knew I was in the School of Ministry, And she said something about my aunt and uncle, who were devout Catholics. And she said, well, they don't understand what you're doing. They know about it, but they don't understand it. And she didn't either. I think that was her way of saying, you know, what are you doing? But she never said it that way. Somehow, the path that we're on becomes a calling that the more we follow it, the more irresistible it becomes in terms of keeping going and going forward. Sometimes it's hard for us to see what our purpose is. What is our purpose? In one sense, our purpose is like the woman I knew who came back from a near-death experience. Our purpose is to teach unconditional love, to learn to be unconditional love. However, it is to learn how to be that on our own path. Whatever that is, it may be baking, it may be gardening. We don't know. So our own path fulfills us. It begins to satisfy us. Pema Chodron, the Buddhist abbess in Canada, says, I'm here to tell you that the path to peace is right there when you want to get away. When we think we want to run, when we're afraid of the path, probably that's a clue we're in the right place. You know how it is when somebody says something to you about you and you feel defensive? Usually that's a clue. They put their finger right on it. This is the same kind of thing. When our path feels like there's too much vulnerability involved, that's a clue that that might be the right way. Maybe not for sure, but until we take another step, we don't really know. It fulfills, it satisfies something in us. Ernest Holmes, our founder, said, we must let every path lead us back to the point where we realize the inner presence of the great reality. There, through the door of our own thought, we enter into the universal consciousness, into a complete realization of life and love, of truth and beauty. So we're moving into really something that can bring us joy in the experience. It's actually magical somehow. It seems to bring forward more value in the world than what we would think we were doing could do, just by the pleasure it brings, or the beauty it brings, or the love or nourishment that it shares. And it doesn't necessarily bring it to everyone, but it brings it to us, to where we feel we want to do that more. We want to bring that forward more. In this thing called You, I've often said this is one of my favorite books by Ernest Holmes, the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living. This is one of the little sets of affirmations. If you open this thing called You, this little book, you'll find that the parts in italics are always a whole set of affirmations. And this one says, today, I walk in the path of inspiration. I know exactly what to do in every situation. There is an inspiration within me that governs every act, every thought, with certainty, with conviction and peace. The key that unlocks the treasures of the kingdom of good is in my hand. I unlock the doorway of my consciousness and gently open it, that the divine presence may flood my whole being with its radiant glow and direct my footsteps into the pathway of peace and joy. This is what we want to be able to do. And so, as I said earlier, sometimes what our calling is, or what our path is relatively simple. This is a story that I want to end with that reflects this. Several times my daughter Julie had telephoned to say, Mom, you must come and see the daffodils before they're over. I wanted to go, but it was a 2-hour drive from my place by the beach to her lakeside mountain home. I'll come next Tuesday, I promised a little reluctantly on her third call. The next Tuesday dawned cold and rainy. Still, I had promised, and so I got in the car and began the long, tedious drive. And when I finally walked into Julie's house and hugged and greeted my grandchildren, I said, "Forget the daffodils, Julie. The road is invisible with clouds and fog, and there is nothing in the world except you and these children that I want to see badly enough to drive another inch." My daughter smiled calmly and said, "We drive in this all the time, Mom." "Well, you won't get me back on the road until it clears, and then I'm heading straight for home," I said, rather emphatically. "Gee, Mom, I was hoping you'd take me over to the garage to pick up my car," she said. "How far will we have to drive?" Smiling, she answered, "Just a few blocks. I'll drive. I'm used to this." After several minutes on the cold, foggy road, I asked, "Where are we going? This isn't the way to the garage." "We're going to the garage the long way," Julie smiled, "by way of the daffodils." "Julie," I said sternly, "please turn around." "It's all right, Mom. I promise you will never forgive yourself if you miss this experience." After about 20 minutes, we turned into a small gravel road, and I saw a small church. On the far side of the church was a hand-lettered sign that read, "Daffodil Garden." We got out of the car, and each took a child's hand, and I followed Julie down the path. As we turned a corner of the path, I looked up and gasped. Before me lay the most glorious sight. It looked as though someone had taken a great vat of gold and poured it across the mountain peaks and slopes. The flowers were planted in majestic, swirling patterns, great ribbons and swaths of different colored, deep orange, white, lemon yellow, salmon pink, saffron, and butter yellow. Each different colored variety was planted as a group so that it swirled and flowed like its own river with its own unique hue. 5 acres of the most beautiful flowers I had ever seen. "Who planted all these?" I asked Julie. "It's just one woman," Julie answered. "She lives on the property. That's her home." And she pointed to a well-kept A-frame house that looked small and modest in the midst of all that glory. For me, that moment was a life-changing experience. I thought of this woman I had never met, who had begun, one bulb at a time, to bring her vision of beauty and joy to an obscure mountaintop in the San Bernardino Mountains. This unknown woman had forever changed the world in which she lived. She had created something of magnificent beauty and inspiration. "Makes me sad in a way," I admitted to Julie. What might I have accomplished if I had thought of a wonderful goal 35 years ago and had worked away at it one bulb at a time through all those years? Just think what I might have been able to achieve. "Start tomorrow, Mom," Julie said. Every year, high in the San Bernardino mountain range of Southern California, 5 acres of beautiful daffodils burst into bloom. This special spot, known as the Daffodil Garden, was planted by Jean Bauer, one bulb at a time. Now, before I read this last part, I need you to know, their house burned down a number of years ago, but the grounds, the daffodils, were fine. I believe they rebuilt, but they no longer open up the fields because Jean is now in her 80s. But this sign, or this information, is on the website from the Daffodil Garden. This was at least there a number of years ago. It says, "Here are the answers to your questions. Over 1 million bulbs have been planted. There are 3 to 10 flowers per bulb. The planting has been done now for over 46 years. Some bulbs, which were planted in 1958, are still blooming. No artificial watering, no fertilizer, never dug out and divided. Deadheading, removing the spent flowers, is the only care received. There are over 500 different kinds planted. All bulbs planted are hybrids. After clearing and spading the drift area to be planted, the planter sits on the ground and plants each bulb using a hand trowel. Every one of us is contributing something absolutely necessary to this universe, or we would not be here. It doesn't matter if we think it's important or meaningful or life-changing for anybody else. The clues to recognizing our own path are the pull and that sense of fulfillment that allows us to take the next step. So I invite you to bless the path you're on, knowing that whatever you've been doing, in some manner of speaking, you're still on that right path. And maybe now, possibly with some of this to think about, you might value it more and pursue it with more confidence. Namaste. Now, let's go ahead and anchor this in prayer together. So we turn within with great gratitude for the gift that is ours, each one, and for the gift of all people everywhere, even if their gift is as a disruptor. We give thanks for the gifts, for the complexity, for the interwovenness of all of our uniqueness, allowing this world to express, to appear, to evolve in the ways that it needs to, allowing for each soul to evolve as it needs to. We claim this truth for ourselves personally right now and for everyone in this room. We extend loving forgiveness for all mistakes made. We extend encouragement and enthusiasm for the uniqueness of each one's path. We honor our own path and theirs with peace and gratitude. And so we send this prayer off into the creative law with great delight and gratitude for the truth that has been and continues to be revealed. We let it go. We let it be. We say, and so it is. And I invite you to stand now and join me in the morning's affirmation. So we say this together. I let myself choose the path less traveled when I am called to it. I realize my path is unique, not a repetition of any that have gone before. It's exciting to discover the divine surprises and gifts waiting for me on this path, and so it is. You may be seated. So as we move into our sacred giving time, I want to remind you that everything we send out in the world, we want to bless. And if you want to make a contribution today, you can do that texting to the number on the screen. And for those of you online, of course, you can do that. And also for those of you here, on the flip side of your bulletin, on the back lower corner is all the different ways that you can give if you choose to do that. So for everybody who's giving, and as everybody who has given in this past week, we want to bless all of this because it is ourselves that we're truly giving. So I invite you to hold your gift near your heart or in your hands with a loved one if you're giving it together. As we say, oh, and ushers, please do come forward while we're doing this. As we say this blessing together, this gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is. Go ahead. Lauren, go ahead. Hang on 1 second.
In normal times when people meet or catch up on the phone, they ask, "How are you?" to start the conversation. But after what has been the strangest few years we've ever known, the answer might require a slight modification. You ask how I am? I'm fine with an asterisk, which is just to say I'm kind of a mess and I'm buried in stress, but other than that, I'm okay. I'm good with an asterisk, which is how my answer gets corrected. Reality's sometimes a pain, but I'm not going insane. I'm doing about as well as can be expected. An asterisk's a form of punctuation to indicate you left something out. Like the way any given situation could make you want to scream and shout, ah! But instead I say, I'm okay. With an asterisk, I won't yell and curse. The world's upside down, but I won't wear a frown, 'cause things could still be way, way worse. I'm peachy with an asterisk, which I might be using for a while. Feels like I'm taking a licking, but I'll keep on ticking. I'm a Timex, and I'll manage to smile. If you find your spirits are sinking, look for something that's still okay. Like, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you like the play? Too soon? Oh well, I'm fine with an asterisk. I can somehow get through it. All sense of normal life is gone, but I'm still hanging on, though I'm not sure how much longer I can do it. But next time we all talk and start making small talk, let's keep it cheerful and brisk. When you ask me how I am, I'll smile and say I'm fine with an asterisk. Hey.
So, all of us together, on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, accept this offering, and we send it out into the world now to assist in places where we can empower to stand and express the truth that each one is. And so it is. Thank you, Ann. All right, if you're here with us for the very first time this morning, I want to draw your attention to this back table here where Galen is standing. You will find there's all kinds of magazines and little things back there you're welcome to pick up and take with you. And there's also welcome packets, or there are also welcome packets. Inside each one of those, you'll find a blue welcome card. So if you're here for the first time, we encourage you to pull out the blue card, fill it out, and leave it with Galen at the back table. She's going to give you a gift in exchange for that, which is a little book. That is our thank you gift for being with us this morning. And also, it's our invitation for you to come back and be with us often in the future. We would love to welcome you into our spiritual family here. Also, Reverend M. Louise did the altar this morning, and I want to acknowledge her because I don't remember her doing the altar before, but she did it today, and I think it's gorgeous. So let's acknowledge her, first of all. And one more round of applause for our wonderful musician, Lauren Mayer. Woohoo! And of course, for everybody who participated in putting this morning together for us, let's acknowledge them as well. This next week, on Thursday, there's going to be a nuts and bolts of estate planning meeting, workshop, gathering, whatever you want to call it, on Zoom from 1 to 3 p.m. And at that gathering will be Kelly Kilkenny, who is an estate attorney. She's going to do a presentation about planning estates and then answer questions. So bring your questions about estate planning, about wills, about durable power of attorney, all that kind of stuff. Bring that. Kelly will assist with that. Now, Barbara Cox, who is one of our licensed practitioners, and I will also be there in case you have questions about legacy leaving stuff for Golden Gate, and we can answer any questions about that. And also I want to let you know, those of you that wanted estate planning kits, you can, the folders, Barbara still has some. So Barbara's here in white. You can seek her out if you didn't get one previously. and we'll make sure that you get one of those. But we'd like to invite you to participate. You can sign up on the back table so we know that you're going to be there. That would be great. Also coming up is another shoreline cleanup day. And those of you that have participated know that that can be pretty fun. I'd like to say come and enjoy the good weather, but it's hard to know what's exactly is going to be happening out there. But bring your friends. It's just 2 hours. It's from 10 a.m. to noon, and all the information is up here on the slide, so you can see it at home and you can see it if you're here. Let Susie Coity know that you're going to come. Her information's on the slide because she's going to be bringing trash bags, gloves, and lunch for everybody who's participating. So just bring your own water, and you can show up and participate in that and make a big difference. It might not seem like a big difference to you, but it's one of those ones I was talking about earlier. The Women's Drumming Circle is going to be meeting on Wednesday, the 21st, so I think that's a week from this Wednesday, at Unity in Marin from 7 to 8:30. You can join Barbara Borden and ladies from Unity and Religious Science there. And information is on the slide also about how to register and all of that good stuff. Also, I'm going to teach a summer class. I'm going to teach Exploring the Roots of Science of Mind. This is a class that lets you experience directly the thinking and the writing of the people who influenced Ernest Holmes the most in terms of developing his own philosophy and teaching. And each one of them is very distinct and different. So this class has a lot of discussion and conversation about what we're reading, a lot of interaction. And we're going to be doing that. It will be 10 Tuesday evenings starting July 11th. You can sign up at the back table. There is a little half-sheet flyer with some info available right now. And we're in the early bird registration time, so you get a discount if you register early. You can do that through our website online. Oh, and by the way, for the nuts and bolts on estate planning, you can join that Zoom through the link on our calendar. So just go to the website calendar, look for that web workshop on that date, click it, and it'll take you to the page where you can click the Zoom link. Okay? And finally, of course, Wednesday evening meditation continues on Zoom as usual. This coming Wednesday night at 7:15, our meditation is a Taizé service. And so if you don't know what that is, come and find out. You don't need to bring anything, do anything. Everybody's welcome. All right. So now I want to invite the practitioners to surround the room. These are our licensed practitioners, and one of these Sundays, I'm going to tell you what it takes to be a licensed practitioner. It's not a quick and easy thing by any means. Also, Deborah Paul is serving at the table this morning. If you would like a prayer personally before you go, please stop and talk to Deborah. She'll take you back here in a private area to do prayer for you. There's also a prayer request box on the table, and you can also make a prayer request through the website. So all of that is possible. And we're going to join together in prayer right now for all of us. So just allow yourselves to sink in and receive these words. We're all going to pray in our own way right now together. And so it is. I invite you to stand and join us for the benediction and the closing song. And the closing song is going to be Stand. You know that one from Karen and Reverend Carol. So we join together with the closing blessing, which we say together as one voice. I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness. For spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is. All right, here we go.
Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. One more time. Let there be peace.